Wait, I thought I was ready, but I'm not ready yet. So this is turning into mukbang. Okay, but I'm ready now. Christmas time is here, happiness and cheers. Tomorrow will be Monday again, and I go back to school. Which I don't know how it's gonna work because last Friday we had an emergency meeting about how the government is taking all classes online because of how horribly COVID is getting. They are literally thriving in this colder weather while I am literally dying. I am dying in my short padded jacket, long pants, high knee socks. Wait, no, not high knee socks. I think they're just crew socks, but they're high enough for me. And I am just not functioning while COVID is doing its thing, which COVID should stop because the world has endured enough suffering. But we will be going back to what I have been doing during trainings week, which is we will be teaching through Zoom. It's a good news and bad news for me and other teachers. One, if we're teaching Zoom, that means we're minimizing contact with a lot more people, right? Especially kids. They go to different academies, so they could come in contact with other students, other teachers who've been to other places, and the possibility just multiplies exponentially. The downside is that this is my first week of teaching. I barely got down with how the schedule is working and then how the grading and all the other routines. I'm just trying to get a hang of everything. And I finally, by Friday, I think, I have a pretty good understanding of what goes on in the academy. And here we are about to start a new schedule because Zoom teaching is going to be a lot different than in class. There's a lot of things that we cannot do, for example, testing and homeworks, and there are different tiers to my academies. Students in the higher tiers, they have different schedule, different learning material as well, and some requires a lot of testing that are done on tablets. So if they cannot use the tablet at school, how are we going to evaluate their testing? And that's things that we have to talk about probably next Monday when we have another meeting, when I will probably reformat my brain one more time to keep up with the times. But before we get to next Monday, which is tomorrow, it's insane. I've already utilized my rest days, Saturdays and Sundays, and in the future, I'll probably be teaching Saturdays as well because makeup classes for kids who missed class due to COVID. So that is going to be fun. But let me tell you how my first week of class/teaching went. Monday is when it all began. I didn't really know what was going to happen, although I learned all the things online. But those were like the teaching components of how I should run the class. Everything else that goes on outside of class, the administration side of things, I didn't know a thing of because nobody had taught me. No one has the opportunity to since I have been in quarantine. And once I got out of quarantine, I was immediately put to work. So Monday was destined to be a fun day. I had so many technical difficulties. It was embarrassing. First of all, I taught 4 different lower class and then 1 upper class. So in lower classes, it's the usual going through lessons and then assign homework, and that's it. In the higher levels, though, you have to do what I mentioned earlier, a tablet testing, and they did that for 3 hours. So they have practice 1, practice 2, and then in writing component, which is like integrated and independent writing. But they were supposed to do that for 3 hours, 3 entire hour full of testing and writing. I feel so bad for them. I'm just kind of proctoring. And at the end of each testing section, I go through the highest missed questions and just analyze what kind of question type it is and how you can better analyze the question and how to answer it more effectively. So I'm like an SAT prep coach, if you think about it. But that's what I would do in the higher level class. And since they're using a tablet, I have to connect to the monitor in the room and do kind of like a screen mirroring. And I have to host the class. I have to begin the session in order for the students to join and do the testing. And at the end of their testing, I have to upload the scores to the cloud. But my tablet, I've never used Samsung tablets before, so I wasn't very familiar with their battery life. My tablet died in the middle of a class. So when my tablet died, the class closed and the students were logged out of their test and the test scores were not uploaded. So basically they did an entire test for an entire hour for nothing. I felt so freaking bad. And the same thing happened on Tuesday too. This time, my tablet was fully charged. It was at 50% when the tablet shut down. And then all the students were like, huh? And I was like, huh? Teacher, what just happened? What had happened was, I think my tablet died, so you kind of lost your answers that you just filled out for the past hour. Of course they were sad because I was sad as well. I felt so incompetent. I didn't really get to play with the tablets a lot. They just kind of told me to download some textbooks and then how to connect to the router about like hours before I had to start teaching my first class. But I think by day 3, I am pretty cautious and I am aware of the mistakes that I've been making for the past few days. So I just kept my tablet plugged into the wall at all times. So the class doesn't accidentally close and they don't lose their score. And as for my Tuesday class, when my tablet died again, I told them like, hey, I'm going to give you 15 minutes to go back and then try to remember what answers you put for the last time when it was working, so you can at least have a score, right? And of course I told my superior, hey, this happened and my kids lost all their scores. What should I do? I feel so bad. But they were like, oh, it's okay, that happens, it's fine. Your first few weeks you're supposed to mess up and then improve from there. I'm like, well, it's my first few days and I'm already crashing and burning. So I didn't really rise like a phoenix as I thought I would, but eventually the entire rest of the week consists of me just going through trial and errors and being better with technology, or should I say specifically Samsung products. Since I'm so unfamiliar with everything, my desktop that I use at work is a Samsung. I haven't used Windows since I was in elementary school. So it's been a long time. Wait, no. The last time I've used it was probably in middle school. In computer labs, I've used Windows. And then from that point on in high school, we were really lucky because our high school was sponsored or affiliated with Apple. I don't know what's going on, but we started using iMacs since I went to high school, and I've been locked into the Apple jail ever since. But that is not the point of this podcast, so I'm going to go back and talk about my other classes. So I am teaching, I want to say probably around 50 students, and they are all from different grade levels. It's weird. We don't teach a class that is full of certain grade level. It's more like we teach a class that is full of students who made similar scores on the placement test. So in one class, I could have 3 third graders and like 2 fifth graders. And in some class, I just have full of first graders. So it's very hard to gauge what each class is going to look like. But after the first day, I became familiar with their faces and their personalities for a little bit so I know what kind of energy I need to carry into the class. But I am teaching four lower levels on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and then two different classes. I would see my class twice on Tuesdays and Thursdays because apparently Tuesdays and Thursdays schedule is a little weird. Since Monday, Wednesday, Fridays are broken down to where Monday you have lesson 1, Wednesday you have lesson 2, and then on Fridays you would actually do a project, which can be fun and also can be chaotic. Just depends on what kids you have. If you have a troublemaker in your class, the project day is going to go very chaotically. And if you have a chill class, you will probably breeze through the project day with some time left on your hand. In the beginning, I was really paranoid about not being able to teach all the stuff that I am supposed to for each lesson. And I really just pushed through all the content. And I realized, oh my God, I have 15 minutes left on my hand. What am I going to do with these children? Because they would not sit still. And they would just start walking around and then talking to their friends and sometimes making a scene. So on the first time I saw them, or second time, I don't remember, I decided to, maybe get to know each other. So on the first day, I got to know them for the little extra time. They were all so confused because they see me and they think that I'm a Korean teacher, right? So they would start speaking Korean immediately. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't understand. Some I do understand, but I'm hesitant in if I should answer them. Because I know if I answer them, they'll know, oh, she knows Korean. Or they will assume that I know Korean. But I didn't want them to associate that with me because I'm supposed to be a foreign teacher. I'm supposed to not know what they're saying. So it will force them to only speak English to me. So I told them no. And then they're like, you look Korean. How are you not Korean if you looked Korean? And I'm like, well, because I'm not Korean. I look Asian, but I am from America. That took a long time for them to understand that just because I look Korean, I'm not Korean, and the fact that I'm from America, so I don't speak Korean. But anyways, I was finally able to establish that with the kids. Like, you can only speak English to me. I can only understand English. And you would think that these kids would kind of calm down and try to think and communicate with me in English, but no, that's not really what happened. They got even rowdier because I can't control them. I have no power. That is wrong. I do have power in that classroom. I just have to be more assertive. But they just got more chaotic since I can't scold them. But I still try to keep them in their spaces. So I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do to occupy these children for like 15 minutes and 10 minutes? Because most of them are really smart, especially for the lower class, the lower younger class, first grade, second grade, third grade. They know what they're reading and they can finish the materials very fast. So I have to make sure that I occupy the last 10, 15 minutes before class so that they don't get crazy and then we get complaints, and then I get yelled at, and then I get fired, and I go back to America. It's just a very bad cycle of thoughts, so let me not think about that. And when I was preparing for class one day, I was just kind of print out all the quizzes that I have to distribute and record, and I saw this teacher was making a crossword puzzle. No, it's more like a word search. She was making a word search, and I'm like, what's that for? She goes, oh, I'm making this for my kids because it's going to be Christmas and it gives them something to do. And I was like, oh my God, I should do the same. So I printed out some simple, easy word search because I don't know what their levels are. I didn't want to give them something super hard. And they just look at the paper and look at me and go, teacher, what is this? I don't understand. So I brought the word search they were really excited to see the word search paper, which I thought was a surprise because you would think that they wouldn't want to do work, but they're like, a word search? We love this. So immediately they start sitting down and they were just so competitive. They wanted to see who can finish it first. So they were in their seats and I had silence for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes though, they got rowdier again because people were kind of shouting, I found 3 words. And they're like, what? What 3 words? Oh, I found Mary, Carol, and reindeer. I was like, what? Where do you find that? And then eventually the class got louder. But it was very constructive. They were being productive, and I kept them occupied until about 5 minutes before class ended. Since apparently that word search was way too easy for them, next time I have to look for something harder or with more words so that they can stay in their seat a little bit longer while still practicing English in some ways. I get it. They have classes in daytime and then in the afternoon they have to come to academy. So most of them are tired. I wouldn't want to do that if I was a kid. So I want to make the class as interesting as possible. But things like word search doesn't quite work with students who are in a little bit higher level. For example, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. If I've given those to them, they would think that I'm insulting them with like elementary tactic. What is this? Why are you giving me word search? Do you think I'm like 7-year-old? As for the kids in a little bit higher level, I tried Pictionary, and they really like that as well. They're also very competitive. I think I already talked about that in the beginning. They wanted to get in teams, and then they wanted me to keep track of points. So I would draw like a crab, and they'll be like, what is this? Crab. How do you spell crab? C-R-A-B. Crab. And I would add 1 point to their team, and then they would get excited for nothing. Although I did see other teachers had like a candy jar as reward, and I think that's a really good idea. So I will probably invest in some candy in the jar once I get to know my students more, once we warm up to each other more. But not everything is sunshine and rainbow, and I do have a few problem kids, mostly boys, that would not really behave in class, and then they basically drive the attitude of the entire class to go wild. So the Korean teachers are kind of trying to handle that and calling parents about it. But as a foreign teacher, I can't really do much, but trying to guide them to stay on track as much as possible. So that's a little bit frustrating, but I can tell from their test scores and their homeworks that this kid is a smart kid. Like, he knows what he's doing, and he's the only person in the class who got hundreds on the vocab test and hundreds on the sentence writing test. So he's just doing this just to do this. However, he doesn't take criticism very well, apparently, according to the Korean teacher. He would take all criticism personally, and then he would go home to his mom and then tell his mom, and then his mom would call. It's like, no, this is not my boy. He's the best boy in the world. He always does his homework. He would never be a problem kid. It's the typical mama boy syndrome, and also the my kid is the best, my kid would never do anything like that syndrome for the mom as well. He just really needs to be in a different class, just to separate all the problem kids. And once we get rid of the spark, then the fire will die down. Or at least that's what we're thinking, but we don't know if that's gonna work because his schedule wouldn't work. So he probably has to stay in that class, and we probably have to deal with him until the end of the winter term, which will be in February. So that's going to be fun. Aside from trying to get to know my students, trying to get to know my schedule, my classes, my coworkers, I was also getting to know my wardrobe. This is my 3rd week in Korea, and I'm becoming more and more aware of the temperature differences here. And I'm also starting to realize that what I had brought here to wear for teaching is not enough. It is way too cold. those clothes are good for Texas weather. And I had nothing, almost nothing, well, just 2 turtlenecks or 3 that were suitable for the Korean weather. So I had to go back to the mall, which luckily is 3 minutes from me. It's literally on the right side of my apartment, and get more clothes. I had to get some sweaters as well as slacks and jeans. Oh, they do have business casual dress code here, so I am able to wear some jeans aside from the slacks that I always wear. Because I was also running out of slacks. I had 2 slacks and I was wearing them alternatively. And this is actually quite a bougie area outside of Seoul. It's a new satellite city, and I think a lot of the new monies are living here since the city is new. So the families here are usually pretty well off. So even though our dress code is business casual, we still want to dress appropriately because the parents come by often, and apparently sometimes they complain about that. So to keep the rich mamas happy and the kids from leaving our academy, my brunch manager told me that, hey, it's a good idea if you dress up for the very first day to be as formal as possible, leave a good impression, and carry on for the rest of the semester. So I was like, okay, I got it. I'll dress up on the first day and eventually mellow out. So on Friday, I was finally wearing jeans and a turtleneck. We still kind of need a nice top, so I had a turtleneck for that. I think by now I have five turtlenecks. Yeah, I have 5 turtlenecks and like 2 sweaters and 2 dress shirts, which I cannot wear because it's too cold. And it's even cold inside. On some days, the heaters will be on full blast, and on some days, the heaters are just non-existent, and kids would literally wear their winter coats inside the class. As the week went on, I tried to get to know my coworkers as well. Since all the teachers are living in the same building, at night we will walk home as a pack. And to be honest, even though I crashed and burned on my first few days, if it was not for the coworkers I was working with that had so generously helped me sort out my problems and answered all of my questions, I would probably crash and burn harder than I have. They really gave me a lot of useful resources and some tips, and also just some previous background information on the kids that I'm teaching. Since most of them are from their old classes, they have an insight on how they should be dealt with and what is the most useful method to keep them calm and focused in class. So I'm really thankful for that. And on Wednesday, Wednesdays and Thursdays are my chillest day. I shouldn't say chillest because I have to be at work 1 to 9 or 2 to 10. So I'm still stuck in school, but at least I'm not teaching a class and I'm just prepping for the next class. One teacher invited me out to eat lunch together. So even though I was feeling very introverted, I thought it would be a good idea to make friends with the coworkers that you work with so we can minimize friction and also just build relationships that will be helpful in the future. So we went, and she took me to this tonkatsu place, and their tonkatsu was Jesus. It was almost the size of my face. I didn't get to finish it. And I was also a little bit concerned on lunchtime. I thought lunch break was only 30 minutes, but we were definitely gone for more than that. But she's like, yeah, the lunchtimes here, they don't really keep track of it because we're always busy. Sometimes we can't even eat lunch or dinner because I don't eat dinner. There's no time for dinner. I snack on a bagel from home. But she's like, yeah, the front desk people doesn't really care. Sometimes if we're gone, they would probably not even notice. But it's a good idea to tell them where you're going before you leave. One teacher told me, and the other teacher was like, no, they really don't care, as long as you don't have a class. So I was like, okay, and I went to eat with her And then I think apparently next week we're going to the same place again, but I'm going to try something else because I'm kind of done with tonkatsu. And I want to try something new, but that's just me. Anyways, I just finished writing some students' evaluations. I have to do it on a weekly basis, and I have the rest of my Sunday to rest. And before I sleep, I'll do some lesson prep on tomorrow's classes, get ready for my Zoom training as well. And at 9:30 tomorrow, I also have a medical examination. Retest. Apparently something is wrong with my chest. X-ray scan. I hope nothing serious is happening. I had to do a test last, I think, Wednesday or Thursday, in order to apply for my alien registration card, but they tried to call me, but I didn't know if I should answer since it was a Korean number, and I didn't remember giving my phone numbers to anyone, so I thought it was a little sus. But then they texted me after and told me that there was something wrong with my chest X-ray scan. So hopefully on Monday we will find out that it is a technical problem and not something actually wrong with my chest. And tomorrow will be the start of a new week. Hopefully everything will be smoother than the first week, but I'm anticipating some hardships or some mess ups since we will be teaching online, and I don't know how kids will behave online when they're not with their friends, so we'll see. I wish myself luck, and hopefully next time when we meet again, I will have good news or better news. So thank you for tuning into the 13th episode of Lactose Intolerant. Thank you for keeping up with my journey in Korea as well. I don't know what will happen here, but I'm excited to see what else will happen. So stay safe in the States, wherever you are. Hopefully next week we will all have some better news to celebrate. So yeah, I will see you next week.